Hey, I wanted to share some stuff with my own project and how I'm approaching lighting in the scene to solve some of the lumen flicker issues. And what do I mean by lumen flicker? So you can see just when standing here, the watch emissive is bright enough that the lumen picks it up. But lumen does have issues with GI in some cases, and so it creates this type of flickering, which I just absolutely kind of hate. It looks kind of trash, and yeah, you can see it on the wall here too with this bright emissive. You can see it here, and so uh, part of this was like, hey, I want to solve this because overall, when looking at like the reference, Ghost in the Shell, big one, Perfect Blue, and then like the new season of Tokyo Vice season 2, and then a lot of other media, like they do these really beautiful like bright emissives, which just look great. And I wanted to kind of capture this feel in my scene. But the problem is when doing like super bright emissives, they unfortunately contribute to the entire lumen pass, and so the brighter the emissive, the worse the flickering gets, and this again just looks really, 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 really terrible. And so, one thing could be like, hey, like let's get the bloom threshold lower, but then the entire scene is going to bloom out as soon as you have like daylight, which is not what I was looking for, because I, don't want to have everything bloom. I just, want these really, really bright lights to bloom out without having to kind of increase the bloom intensity and reduce the emissive intensity. So let's break down how I solved this. So the first thing I did is the lumen contribution. I have a checkbox on all my materials that I plug in my material function to, and that actually removes the lumen contribution from the emissive or from any part of the material put it in. So this is a custom node, and it uses lumen card capture or grabs it, and then what I'm basically saying is like, hey, if this is going to the lumen card capture part of the render pass, I'm just multiplying this by 0, and so if lumen take the emissive input, multiply it by 0, so the emissive is no longer contributing to the lumen overall GI scene. You can still see though there's some flickering. And what's happening there is it's actually the lumen screen traces. And so what I've done is I've actually set these to 0. And so now super, super clean. And so what you can see is I can actually crank this emissive intensity to like a kind of insane amount. I never want to go this high, but you can see it's not contributing to the lumen flicker at all. And so now the emissive becomes more of like a artistic lever of just contributing that kind of glow and bloom to the scene without it contributing to the lumen pass. So I get a lot more control of like color, intensity. The other thing I could do is like if I wanted to contribute a little bit, I could set this to like 0.1, which would be like 10%, or double it if I really wanted to set it to 2, and then the emissive would contribute a lot to lumen, but I definitely do not want that. But it does have a little bit of control here. I could also set this to a color if I wanted the emissive to actually like contribute a specific color to the world, but really don't want that. But it's pretty cool, but I'm not going to use any of that. Anyways, where was I? Okay, so that's the type of lumen stuff. And so now when I play an editor, you'll also see on the gun, it looks great now. So let me do selected viewport. So what we've done is we have this really nice glow that I was kind of aiming for, and we'll continue to dial in, looking on the walls, the floor, yeah, no lumen flicker anywhere. And then going back out here, where that flicker was initially on the gun from this watch is, again, no longer there. So overall, this is the type of look I'm going for. A few other things I did is in the emissive, I was finding that with the... I'm using a little bit of eye adaptation, not too much, but a little bit. And what I was finding is the emissive intensity was kind of getting reduced heavily at times by the exposure or the adaptation. And so I just did this pre-exposure view property and then multiplied it by the emissive intensity. So this is going to ensure that the emissive intensity always looks the same regardless of eye adaptation. And this just again gave me the type of look I wanted to, and removed cases where like I was completely losing the emissive glow if eye adaptation took over. So again, this keeps it a little bit more consistent, a little bit more static with what I'm looking for. The next thing I did is screen space AO. So by default, this is how like things like the air conditioner were looking. And so you can see Lumen has their like short range AO, but I don't think it looks super great, especially on stuff like this. And I prefer the look of SSAO. So what I did is I set my short range AO to 0 and then the SSAO to 1. And so what you're going to see here is when I do enable this, wow, looks way better. Things like in the cavity here. And that way, like I don't have to bake like a crazy AO. I don't have to bake in the diffuse. I can just use SSAO to and ensure like the cavities of the scene look good versus like needing to use a texture for everything. Because again, this just did not look good at all and was not was really fighting against like kind of what I wanted to do with the artistic execution. And you can see this as well, like the door trim and stuff, where if we turn this off, very flat, like not super exciting, but then turning it on, again, really getting that nice SSAO. So overall, that's kind of what I've been doing. And the great part is like, you know, I can crank the emissive super bright again. I could go like that. And then even if I play an editor with the gun, you're going to see like, I mean, again, don't want to use this, but like the fact that this reads at this level without any of the lumen flicker issue is great. Now I'm starting to see some of like the bloom issue of like when the bloom gets to the edge of the screen space, it kind of clamps back down. There's something else I found that can fix that, but it's not really a concern because I'm not trying to have bloom this bright yet. But yeah, there's a little overview of my scene and some of the rendering tech that I've enabled to get a look that is more what I kind of want overall.